fucking God. Oh my God. Oh my motherfucking God. Mm, mm, mm. Really, 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 really. All right. Guess that's a good enough sound check. Hello, welcome to Can Angels Fly, Tarot, and More. My name is Nancy, and today I'm here to talk about chitterlings. Hello, welcome to Can Angels Fly, Tarot, and More. My name is Nancy, and today I'm here to talk about chitterlings. As you can see, the title is 2021, The Holiday Without Chitterlings. What does this foretell? Before we begin, I invite you to order your own personal tarot reading. You can do so by contacting me by email. My email is canangelsfly1@gmail.com. All the details that you need to order your very own personal tarot reading is below this video. Thank you. At this time, I like to enact the fair use law. The images that I will be sharing in this video are from Google or various sources, namely Google, Wikipedia, and a few other places. Anywho, notwithstanding the provisions of Section 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction in copies or photo records or by any other means specified by that particular section, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of the copyright. Before I begin this video, I want to offer a disclaimer. So I'm going to read this disclaimer. I'm going to try to read tonight, y'all, so it can go quick and fast and hopefully smooth. The disclaimer is, for this video, I offered this disclaimer. Number one, some of the comments that may be made in this video, let me start again. The comments that are made in this video are what? My opinion. Number two, some of the language I use may be flowery and may be considered by some people to be derogatory in nature. I am letting it be known from the beginning of this video, I mean no harm or have no malice for any demographic of people that compose humanity. End of disclaimer. Okay. As mentioned, the title of this video is 2021, the year without chitterlings. What does this foretell? So for some people, you might be wondering, well, what is a chitterling? Well, let's consult Google or Wikipedia to see. Chitterlings. I have some images at the bottom of this page, and they're from the neighborhoods.org. I'm not going to keep it up long because I'm not quite sure if I'm using the Fair Act use law correctly. But these are some images of chitterlings. On the left side is a person at their sink cleaning chitterlings, and to the right are the chitterlings in their bucket that they're sold in the grocery stores. So anyway, Wikipedia describes chitterlings as sometimes spelled or pronounced chitlins or chitlins, and are a culinary dish usually made of the large intestines of a hog, although the intestines of cattle or other animals are sometimes used. That is what chitterlings are in a general sense. Let's see. Still exploring what a chitterling is, I want to take a look at some biblical dietary laws pertaining to a pig or swine. And I'm doing so for a reason. If you follow me, you know I'm going somewhere with this. Will 2021 holiday be the year without chitlins, or the holiday without chitlins? Let's see. All right. I am about to read some scriptures from the Bible, and I'm in the book of Leviticus, chapter 11. It's verses 1 through 47. I'm not going to read all 47 verses, but I am going to read 1 through 8. It says, "And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, These are the living things that you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, and chews the chud, among the animals you may not eat. Nevertheless, among those that chew the crud or part the hoof, you shall not eat these. The camel, because it chews the chud, but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. And the rock badger, because it chews the chud, but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. And the hare, because it chews the chud, but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you." And verse 7 says, "And the pig, because it parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, but does not chew the chud, is unclean to you." Verse 8, and the last verse I'll read is, "You shall not eat any of their flesh, and you shall not touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you." And why did I just read those verses? Well, the verses 1 through 7 in the 11th chapter of Leviticus, because there is where we find some of the dietary laws offered in the Bible. And the Bible directly says that the pig, its flesh, its carcass, is unclean to for mankind to consume. Anyway, on this page, hopefully you can see that I have some additional pictures. And one of the pictures I have to the far, what would it be? I guess it was my left, so I guess it's your right. I'm not sure. It's from Wikipedia, and it's actually just pictures of a domesticated pig. And next to it is an image from Shutterstock.com, and it's intestines, the intestines of the pig, okay, which are what? The chitterlings. Will this year of 2021 be the year that has holidays without chitterlings? And if so, what does this foretell, if anything? Let's learn a little bit more about chitterlings. Now, what I have presented here on the screen for you is the the nutritional facts associated with chitterlings. And so we're going to go through them. And the reason we're going to go through them is because chitterlings have a reputation for being unhealthy. And so we're going to find out kind of why they're unhealthy. On the right side is a list. I don't know if it's the right or left, but it's a list of the recommended daily dietary intake for a diet of 2,000. This is what the doctors or the specialists suggest a person should strive to stay up under. Okay. And as you can see, it says total fat, you shouldn't have more than 70 grams a day. Saturated fat, no more than 20 grams, and so on and so on. So let's go over to the insert I have screenshotted on chitterlings from Google that shares the information from Wikipedia. And we've already found out that chitterlings are a culinary dish, usually made from the large intestines of a hog, although the intestines of the cattle and other animals are sometimes used. The nutritional facts associated with 3 ounces, 85 grams of chitterlings is that, first of all, the calorie intake for 3 ounces is 198 calories. That's not too bad in relationship to a 2,000 calorie diet per day. Not bad, but we'll go on. The next value we're going to look at is the total fat present in 3 ounces of chitterlings. And there's 17 grams of fat. So if we go over and look at the recommended dietary intake, it says total fat should not exceed, 70 grams. So even the fat content is pretty okay. It's only 25% of the, daily recommended value. Only 25 or 26%. Sorry. We're going to go on. And I'm going to try to move quickly. I am going somewhere with this. Just ride the wave with me, if you will. I think that the shortage of chitterlings for this during this holiday season is a sign, or like a subtle propaganda. I really do believe that. The propaganda, I think, is not real popular because it's like the powers throw the propaganda out like bait and just sees who gets hooked on the bait. And only a person that is maybe like a connoisseur of chitterlings or foods would catch this particular type of bait. Yeah, I digress. Let's continue talking about the dietary attributes associated with chitterlings, comparing them to the recommended daily dietary intake. Okay, so now we move over to the saturated fats that are present in 3 ounces of chitterlings, and the saturated fat is 8 grams. And so the recommended dietary value of saturated fats is no more than 20 grams. So that's pretty okay. That's but it's only 3 ounces. 3 ounces of chitterlings. That's a very, very, very small portion. So no, it's really not okay because it's 40%. That's almost half the daily recommended intake. Hope that makes sense. So that's a little rich right there. I'm going on because I'm kind of trying to point something out. The next thing relative to 3 ounces of chitterlings is that the cholesterol is 235 milligrams. 235 milligrams. Well, let's look over at the daily recommended dietary intake. When it's next to cholesterol, it says the maximum amount of cholesterol a person should take in, and they shouldn't exceed it per day, is 300 milligrams. Where chitterlings is already 235 milligrams with 1 3-ounce serving, and takes up 78% of the daily recommended intake. So that's one of the negative issues with chitterlings is that the cholesterol is very, very high. And what I forgot to do is research the fat, the saturated fat. One of them is very, very unhealthy. And so when I'm talking about the cholesterol now, focusing on the cholesterol, this is where artery people become concerned with their arteries becoming clogged and different things like that, leading to heart disease and heart attacks. And so going back to the biblical text with the dietary that contains the dietary laws, it said that the pig or the swine is not healthy for you. It is unclean. That's one of the scientific reasons that the Bible was saying it. Okay, amongst other things. Anyway, let's talk about sodium. In 3 ounces of chitterlings, the sodium is estimated to be 15 milligrams. The maximum amount of sodium a person can take in per day is 23 milligrams. So that's actually 0% of the dietary intake. But we're talking about 3 ounces of chitterlings that haven't even been seasoned. We're going to get to seasonings and spices later. So the seasonings and spices come later, is what I'm saying. All right. It can also play a negative, have a negative impact on a person's health. Anywho, the next thing on the list is potassium. Oh, well, relative to 3 ounces of chitterlings, there's 12 milligrams of potassium. How much potassium can a person have, but what not exceed daily, is 4,700 milligrams of potassium. So truly, there's 0% of the daily recommended intake is 0. It has no nutritional value really in the way of what potassium. Okay. The next thing is protein. Well, chitterlings, 3 ounces of chitterlings is estimated to have 11 grams of protein. So, what is the daily recommended amount? A person should not exceed 50 milligrams of protein. And with chitterlings, 3 ounces, what is 11 grams? 22% of the recommended daily intake, which is not bad at all. I think that's kind of high, but we need protein. So in that, it's okay. But remember, the biblical dietary laws lets us know that the pig is unclean and it's unhealthy for a human to consume. I'm going somewhere with it. That's why I keep pointing that out. The next thing is, and I'm going to try to move for a little quicker, we find no vitamin C in chitterlings, but we do find a percentage of iron, and iron is 6% of the suggested dietary intake, which is 18 milligrams. It's only 6% of the 18 milligrams, recommended milligrams. Another thing that chitterling has is 2% of the magnesium. And how much magnesium is recommended daily? 420 milligrams, but it's only 2%. So what I'm saying, we're starting to find that it doesn't have the chitterling does not have much nutritional value. Nothing that benefits a person that will consume it. The next thing is calcium. It's only 2% of the recommended daily intake of 1,300 milligrams. And last but not least, I don't know how to pronounce it. Start with the C, but it's actually vitamin B12, and it has 6% of the 2.4 UG, whatever that unit is. I do believe that type of unit is extremely small, and so again, it doesn't have any significant, health benefits to it or as far as nutrition, but it does have a really high. What am I talking about? 3 ounces of chitterlings does have a really high count of cholesterol, and cholesterol does what? It clogs the arteries. I even think it can lead to Alzheimer's, if I'm not mistaken, when the cholesterol deposits develop in the brain. As the Bible said, the pig is unclean for consumption. And remember, we're talking about the intestines of the pig. We're talking about the bowel tract of the pig. Okay? Still learning about what a chitterling is. Chitterlings. We're going to talk a little bit about safety and how to prepare or prep chitterlings. And so I have an insert here. Let me talk about the image first that you see. The image is a prepared dinner with the main course or the meat being chitterlings. And this image I got retrieved off of Google, and it was by Triad City Beats. None of these image sources are associated with me, Can Angels Fly Tarot, or Nancy, and my channel Can Angels Fly Tarot. So I go on and talking about the safety and how to prep and prepare chitterlings. Safety. This insert is from Wikipedia. I forgot to put that down. Anyway, it says disease can spread by chitterlings. Y'all heard me? Disease can spread by chitterlings. Why? Because it's the pig and it's unclean. In addition, chitterlings are actually the intestinal tract of the pig, where all the bowel and everything passes through. Fecal matter. Okay. Anyway, let's start again. Disease can spread by chitterlings not cleaned properly and undercooked. Pathogens including E. coli. I don't even know how to pronounce it. The one that starts with a Y. Yersinia. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm going to pass those up, but y'all can see it. That's why I got it there. Y'all know I got a reading deficiency, so I go on. And I know that last one, salmonella and salmonella. Anywho, chitterlings are often soaked and rinsed thoroughly in several different cycles in cool water and repeatedly picked clean by hand, removing extra fat, undigested food, and specks of feces. They may then be turned inside out, cleaned, and boiled, sometimes in baking soda or salt, and the water discarded. Okay. So what were we just doing? Learning about what chitterlings are. Who eats chitlins? Let's see. This insert here. And once again, I have the same image I started this live with. I do believe this is the same images. And these images, the source of these images are the neighborhoods.org. In one picture, it's an image of a person standing at their kitchen sink, cleaning the chitlins, plucking the extra fat off, pulling off the feces, etc., and washing them in salt and baking soda and different things like that. And the other picture is a picture of the chitlins in the bucket, stored for sale. Okay. Anyway, we're talking about distribution and different traditions. We're only going to read just a fraction of the insert that was offered on Wikipedia relative to the distribution of chitlins, or who eats chitlins. It says, as pigs are a common source of meat in many parts of the world, the dish known as chitlins can be found in most pork-eating cultures. Chitlins made from pig intestines are popular in many parts of Europe and are still eaten in the southern states and even further. That's what Wikipedia shares. Okay. Let's see. What have I done? Because I'm going somewhere with this, y'all. I really, really am. I do believe that there's a shortage, I guess I can say, when it comes to chitlins. Let me stop. Let me tell you what happened. About 2 or 3 days ago, I signed on to Facebook, and as I was scrolling down the timeline, I saw an announcement. And the announcement said it was different people. First, it was different people sharing, saying that they couldn't find chitterlings, in the stores. Then it was, I ended up seeing a post about something about someone had found some chitterlings, but they were like $33 per pail. Now, most times, chitlins are sold in like those 10-pound, those red pails I was showing you with the white lid, and the weight is about 10 pounds. And they, range I'll say this range of prices. Anyway, when I saw $33, I was like, phew, I just went on a slid right on past, scroll right on past, because I was like, that's a joke, didn't pay it any attention. Then a family member of mine came over, and they was talking about how they'd been looking for chitlins, couldn't find them. And me personally, I hadn't looked for them, but neither had I seen them. It's not my time. So I hadn't seen them. So I really wasn't paying attention. But when I thought about it, I said, I didn't see them. I didn't see them. And so since that time, over the last few days, I'm constantly hearing people say they can't find chitlins. They can't find chitlins. And when they do, the prices are more expensive than they have ever been, in past times. So let me stop and talk a little bit about the history of chitlins. How, I came to know them. I was raised in a household that we had chitlins every Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I had to probably be about 9 years old or 10 years old when I stopped eating chitlins. I stopped eating chitlins when I found out what they were, which are the pig's intestines. Well, my mom told me I didn't eat them for about 3 years. I think I started back eating them when I was about 12 or 13 years old. Over the course of my life, I found out that chitlins became a part of the more associated with the black culture, because they were associated with the slave period. And the story went something like this, that during slave times, the slaves were not allotted much food. And so at the end of the workday, when the butchers had cut all the meat down, they would discard certain parts of the animals, like the ears and the tails and the feet and the intestines. And the slaves would go retrieve those parts out of the garbage. And they learn how to, clean them and create a hearty meal for their family. So it was really about survival. What else is it about chitlins down through the years? Now I say this, although chitlins are unhealthy, and I do not think you should eat them very often if you partake in them. Why? Number one, the Bible's number one said you ain't supposed to eat them, but that as far as science and health, they have a very high level of cholesterol and what can lead to clogged arteries, heart disease, and heart attack. Right? Okay. It take you to have dealt with chitlin to know the lard that just comes off of them. This is like this incredible lard. I'm going somewhere with this. So y'all know I get on here and just get to rambling and can't think. I tried to take notes, y'all, and it still didn't work. Okay. But I'm still going somewhere with this. So, where was I at? Let me see. I did hood chitlins. Let's see. So anyway, I was talking about when I was a kid, I ate them, then I found what they were, and I didn't eat them. Then I came back a few years later. Then I found out, shared about how I was taught about the history behind the chitlin and why people ate the chitlins, even though biblically they were prohibited. Biblically they were prohibited to be consumed, even though they were the intestines. Like when it comes to the chitlin, the intestines, they ate them because it was about survival. Let's see. Anyway, let me talk about another time period in history that chitlins were consumed because there was nothing else affordable. Now remember, the slaves retrieved these parts out of the garbage, and they were masterful culinary artists when you really think of it, because they changed shit into a cuisine, gourmet delicacy. That's what they did. So, anyway, another time in history that chitlins were quite popular were actually during what? The 1930s, during the Great Depression. It says, I have in my notes, in the book We Eat What? A cultural encyclopedia of unusual foods in the United States, author Jonathan D. states that the Great Depression of the 1930s hit the South particularly hard, and many white Southerners enthusiastically embraced chitlins during this time. However, after the economic hardship was over, white Southerners largely abandoned intestines. Did I finish writing it? I didn't even finish writing it, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm going somewhere with this. Please ride the wave with me, if you will. So, what have I been talking about? I've been talking about a chitlin and what it is. I've actually described what the chitlin is. I have described, I've talked about how just the pig itself is prohibited by biblical law, prohibited from being consumed through biblical, law. I've talked about how people in very desperate situations had no other choice but to consume the pig, even though unclean, just to sustain a life. And these people were and have been all different types of races. Right now we're just talking about in this video we're just talking about the intestines of the pig, but the intestines of different animals are consumed by different cultures all over the world. And it is also all about sustaining one's life. It is all about one warding off starvation or in that sensation of hunger, So I'm bringing all this up for a reason. Let me talk about chitlins a little bit, just in general. Although chitlins are not healthy, they are delicious. I'll say that. They are delicious. Very savory. I guess that's the term. Savory. It's a lot of hard work. A whole lot of hard work to make sure they're not, contaminated, to the point that they have E. coli and stuff. So it does require a considerable amount of time. For me personally, to clean a 10-pound pail, it takes me like 2 hours at least to pick all of the undigested food out, to pluck the fecal matter out, to pull a membrane off and do all those things and wash it down and soak it in vinegar and salt over and over again multiple times, to make sure they're clean. And then a person that cooks, here's a nice, really nice image of some prepared chitlins. And then you put them in a pot of water and you boil them with all the spices. Remember I said we was going to come back to sodium. This is the point where a lot of spices are added. You can add 2 tablespoons to, or at least 1 tablespoon to a 10-pound pail. So we're talking about 1 or 2 tablespoons of salt, then pepper, then cayenne pepper, salt, black pepper, cayenne pepper. Some people put celery in it. There's garlic. You have to have garlic to cut the taste of the pork. So you got garlic, you got onions. Some people put white potatoes in the pot, and some people claim that it helps absorb or pull like all of that fat, where the cholesterol is really packed in there. It's like a lard. Pull it out and away from the chitlin. And other people believe that the white potato actually ends up helping to create a broth, a thickening of the broth. And you boil them, maybe about 4 hours or so, and until tender. You simmer them until tender. And so again, they are actual a delicacy. They're a delicacy. So I did want to talk a little bit before I move on to why I'm making this video, about chitlins down through the years. Chitlins have gone through so many phases as far as prices and things like that, but they've always been fairly affordable, really actually cheap. I recall that like in the early 90s, you can go get a 10-pound pail of chitlins for $3 to $5. $3 to $5 for 10 pounds. You could. Another thing about a chitlin is even though you start with 10 pounds, by the time you get through cooking, you might be down a literally 3 pounds. Anyway, so during that time period, 10 pounds was between $3 and $5 or something like that. So maybe 10 or 15 years later, they may have ranged from, I'll say, $5 to $7 or something like that. And I know the last time I bought some, because I don't eat them, I try not to eat them every year. I allow myself to eat them, if I give myself the option to eat them once every year on one of the holidays. That's what I do. And not all the time do I do it. So last year we didn't do it. The year before we did. And I paid $10 per bucket. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the price going up. The same amount, 10 pounds. The price has gone up over the years. And this is 2021, so 2019. I paid $10 per pail. $9.99, $10 per pail. And I bought about 4 of them. So, the other day when I was on Facebook and I saw the post about, girl, I found some chitlins. They mentioned the store. They said, but this is the thing. They $33 per 10-pound pail. Not just say it. Back in the early 90s, it was only like $3 per 10-pound pail. That suggests that inflation has been taking place since the early 90s, was been taking place, a period. But that would be like, what's that, 11 times as much over, what was that? Is that a what? 30 years? 11 times more than it used to cost. If they are really going for $33 per pail. I say this got to be a joke. People have got to be joking. But I can say, honestly, I have not seen any buckets of chitlins. I'm hearing all types of people say they can't find them. Even going to the meat markets. They said they went to one of the major meat markets in our area, and they didn't have any. Then they usually have the fresh ones straight out the pig. I got to say this. I think it's, again, propaganda. I think it's all staged. And I say that because in my area, I know I done heard about food shortages. But in my area, I have to say this. I haven't seen a shortage of a pork chop. That's from the pig. I haven't seen a shortage of bacon. That's from the pig. And other, pig-based products like breakfast sausage, I haven't seen any shortage. So if there's no shortage in any of those other parts of the pig, where are the intestines at? Where are they at for this holiday? I don't know if it make sense, but I'm going to continue. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I talked about, talked about the Great Depression. And I talked about the prices. Let's see. Oh, one other thing about chitlins. Chitlins did go through a period. I remember this distinctly. They went through a period that the wealthy wanted them. They were considered a gourmet dish, a gourmet delicacy. And that's when they had gotten very, very expensive at one time. They got very, very expensive. Very expensive. And that faded. And that was for a person, during that period, for a person with a refined palate, And they were taking in them, they were frying. That's when I started hearing about people frying their chitlins and not boiling them and things like that. Okay, I go on and on. Now, what am I, why did I go through all this trouble to make this video? And why did I share what a chitlin is and the history of it and my experiences with it? It is because what I know for sure, is that chitlins was one of the most affordable foods I that has ever existed. The first price was free because it was in the garbage. The next price, some 100 years later, was $3. And here we go today. Ain't no chitlins hardly nowhere to be found. Word of mouth is the price is through the roof. To me, that signifies or suggests that we are about to enter a time period in which inflation is about to blow up. The cost of living is about to blow up. Now, we've been hearing about it. Everybody been saying prepare. But I'm here to let you know that this whole chitlin shortage is a subliminal or a subtle message to the populace. But not everybody catching it. Why? Because everybody's not connoisseurs of chitlins. You're not. If the cheapest food is not available, or if there's a shortage of one of the most unpopular, not just cheap, but it's unpopular. That's the whole thing. It's unpopular now. And it's a shortage of it. Something that is unpopular is, in what did it say? In short, that's just something. And the fact that the chitlins that are out here are excessively expensive, like abnormally expensive, that reminds me of the biblical scripture that talk about in the final days how it would take a full day's wages in order to eat. Full day's wages. I don't know how to say this. Why can't I say it? I believe that it's telling of hard times shortly to come. That's what I think it's really saying. Because what I'm trying to say is, no matter throughout the whole history of America, if a person didn't have anything else to eat, they could make it happen with a chitlin. You know what I'm saying? They can make it happen with a chitlin. Chitlins, like in the black community at one point in time, throughout the history, the black history, African American history, that was a food like that, like was the centerpiece of any celebration or party. I mean, it was again like a delicacy, or it was a delicacy. It was something that, again, it was a centerpiece food. It was a celebration. When there were chitlins, it was a celebration. So that's what I'm saying. No, and now we don't have them. And if we do, they cost too much. So that says, I'm doing it so wrong. But that says to me that we ain't going to even be able to afford the food that's out here, not even the worst of the worst food. Ooh, that came up in one of my predictions, one of my yearly predictions. Even the worst food we won't be able to afford, is what it's saying. The worst of the worst food we won't even be able to afford. So anyway, I'm making this to say, hey, I think that it would be wise to prepare. I think we're down, to the last moments to prepare, to try to get ahead. Store up while foods are still available, canned goods, dry goods, and all those kind of things. Because I do believe, based on some of the messages that I'm getting, and they're so, again, vague, or they're vague. The messages are vague. I got one the other day. It was just really, really vague. And I talked about it in the last live stream I did. And it was about the muse, the spirit of the muse that has been summoned by the powers in this world. And last time that muse was summoned by the powers, the market crashed. And people were going homeless and starving and doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but these are the kind of messages that seem to be swelling up, you know. And then here goes this whole thing about the chitlin thing is staged. Again, there is no way. There could be plenty of pork chops at the grocery store, plenty of bacon right now, you know, sausage and whatever else. What else made of pork? Plenty of it. But ain't no chitlin, the most undesirable food available, is gone. That signifies something, saying that that food that can save your life or sustain you in hard times is gone. That's what I'm saying. Something as simple, again, and undesirable as a chitlin is gone. You don't have those those life-saving foods. You know, you don't have them life-saving foods. You won't have those life-saving foods this time around. That's what it's saying to me. That's what I'm seeing. You will not have them life-sustaining foods. Them foods that y'all once could sustain your life with. Them foods y'all could run and go to carry you through some hard times. They're not gonna be there. And what you can find, what you will find, the worst of the worst, is gonna cost you every penny you got. Hopefully you understood. Well, I was sharing over this course of this video about chitlins. Until next time, y'all. Bye.